All right. Let's jump right in, people. Hey, happy Sunday. I'm Paula Montgomery from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to welcome you to our Bead Stash Challenge. So every Sunday we draw cards for the weekly project, and on Thursdays we make our project live. So today, though, we've got a special treat. We are going to draw, but then we are going to have a make-along for our quail kit. So our quail kit is 3 quails. So we have the baby, we have the papa and the mama if you want, although, you know, they're roughly the same size in nature, but that's okay. But you get all the stuff to make 3 quails except for the wire. So all you need is some 22 gauge wire, whatever color works for you. I love to use the blue with my blue crystals, but silver would be beautiful. Gold would work fine. So whatever color you happen to have, I would use 22 gauge. It's too hard to do some of it with 20 gauge. All right. But that's our plan for the day. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I do want to comment. I was having troubles downloading Thursday's video. I finally got it downloaded today and over to YouTube. So I did post the project. So, you know, Thursday we made this ring out of leather. That was a lot of fun. We used gemstones, we used leather, we used one of my favorite vintage German buttons. This was one I had made as a practice, but anyways, the video is now out on YouTube and there's a link to it on our page. Okay, so it was a fun project. I don't recommend, like I said, I don't necessarily recommend leather. You'll have to take it off if you make one, which there's no reason you can't. You just take it off before you wash your hands. You know, you could put some like leather, I mean, if you use pleather, it might be okay. I don't know. And you could probably put some leather, like mink oil or something on there to make it waterproof, and it would hold up a little better. But anyways, there you go. You know, I always try new things when the cards ask me to, and I decided rather than rejecting that plan, I went for it. And, you know, it was fun. So let's go ahead and flip it over, do our drawing, and so we can start making quail, right? I'm so excited about the quail. It's quail day finally. Yay. I don't know if you guys saw the picture that I posted of the quail out there on the rock in front of my house. You can clearly see the 2 parents, but there's actually at least 3 babies in there in that picture as well. They kind of blend with the rocks. You have to kind of look up close. There were 4 babies total, so I think the other one had just not caught up on the rock yet. But exciting, last night, right out there in the same area, I had a bobcat mama and a baby visit me, so that was fun. Anyways, all right, let's see what we're gonna make this week, and then we're gonna make some quail. So if you're new to us, Bead Stash Challenge is a series of cards that are designed to boost your creativity, make you try new things like putting leather in rings, right? So there's 3 types of cards. The first is make cards. These are great if you are overwhelmed by your stash, or you have a monthly bead box and you don't know where to start, things like that. These are a good start. So we're going to make this week, we are going to make an anklet. All right. So I have all 5 of our decks. Hey, Betty. Put in together, and our decks are deck 1, which is where you should start. Then we have our Sun and Sea deck and our Desert Southwest deck. Those are themed decks. We have our color deck that adds everything color to our projects, which is great if you're like me and would always make everything in teal, blue, green, whatever. It's great for making you try new things, all right? And then we have the non-jewelry and findings deck. So, you know, this would be a non-jewelry item, but, you know, things like keychains, bookmarks, those kind of things are also non-jewelry items, right? And then making it also helps you use all those findings that you have that you buy because you buy a bunch of class, but you end up only ever using one kind or things like that. So it's good. All right, so the used cards tell me what I'm going to have to pull out of my stash, my bead stash, to use in my project this week. So we are going to apparently use lapis. You can never go wrong with that, right? And green. Those can go together. That's fine. Now I draw 3. You can draw 1 if you're new. You can draw 5 if you really feel like it. You know, it kind of depends on the project as to how that works out. And we're going to use a toggle clasp in our design. I think those are all totally usable and can go together just fine. Hey, Lorraine. All right, and the last kind of cards that we use are challenge cards, and these are ones that make you think a little, okay? So they add a theme, or it adds a design challenge. I actually find sometimes these actually help me focus my project, and other times they truly are what they say, a challenge, right? And I have to think about how I'm going to work that in. But this time we are going to design something using primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. Okay, well, we already had blue. So it's going to be a very colorful anklet that we make this week. I think those cards are pretty easy to make it work together. All right, just got to find beads of the right color. So now you'll see my piles of cards are different sizes. Well, they are anyways, but we just turned our make deck over last week because I take them out as I use them. Excuse me. And then shuffle them when we run out, okay? Let me get a quick drink because I got a lot of talking to do today, right? All right, so it's quail time. I'm so excited. All right, so let's talk about this. So if you get the kit, you get, like I said, all the crystals. Most of them are crystal. There are some that are glass and not crystal because I couldn't find the crystal equivalent, but everything's glass or crystal in here, okay? Now, with your kit, you will get 3 bags. Each one's labeled. You know, I think I labeled them small, medium, large because you can decide if it's a baby or a parent on your own, all right? You also get written instructions, all right? So, my instructions will give you the details on what size beads you need, which are included in the package, right? What type of wire you need. Today we're using blue pear wire. Hey, Marionica. If you have the blue soft flex wire from that we sold along with our peacock kit, it works perfectly. I used mine up and I decided to use this wire, but the blue soft flex is beautiful with it. But like I said, silver would be wonderful, as well as I think gold. Pretty much any color. Copper would be fine. I would probably be my least recommended of those, but anyways, all right. And you need about 6 to 7 feet of 22 gauge wire. The only other thing you need is, you know, basic wire wrapping things. And I will say, we don't actually do any, it's all by hand. So really the wire tools are just to kind of cut things off, and we have to do a little something at the end of the baby, okay? Oh, and so I will say, if you make all of these and you follow the specifications that I have in there, they do all stand on their feet. Now, this guy is super easy to get him to stand because he's got a nice long tail and he just balances between his feet and his tail, okay? The baby and the middle one, they do not have a tail to lean on, and so it does take a little work to get them to balance. So we're going to show you how to make that happen. Now, if you want it to not, you know, like if you're giving it a gift or something and you don't want somebody to have to worry about it, you can put it on a base and then there's like no problem at all. So I did include in the baby, the small one, a clear button that you can use as a base to mount him to, and then he always stands up. So you really could do that with this one too, if you had a nice big button. I did not, I only gave you one, but you know, all of you guys have buttons, so you could, if when you're done, you have a hard time getting this guy to stand up, I would put him on some sort of a base, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the biggest difference between these three, so you'll see there are differences in the directions. The tail is different on all of them, okay? So that's why the directions are going to be a little different for the tails. However, the rest of the assembly is all the same. Now, the small one has different beads for the feet. The two bigger ones have the same beads for their feet. So when I show you how to make them, it's still the same. It's just the little one is made with smaller beads, okay? Because these would have been too big for their feet. Okay, so, you know, in a lot of my kits in the past, like the feet, you could have some options. This one you really can't. You get to kind of follow the rules, and you have to be fairly pretty close with the measurements. You can make adjustments, but you want to get as close as possible to what we're going to do. So we're going to start with assembling the feet. And what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to assemble the feet for the large one, and then I'm going to assemble the feet for the small one, because I want to show you the complete process. I think we're going to make the large guy completely today, and the little guy, and I'm going to leave this one probably for you. I'll show you real quickly a reminder how to make his tail, but quite honestly, he's exactly the same as this guy, other than the size of his tail and the size of his beads. All right. Okay. So we're going to assemble the feet first. So for each of your beads, now you know, with the price of beads, and I like to keep my costs as low as I can for you guys, I could not include a ton of extra things if you drop something, but I do believe, like, between the medium and the tall guy, I had at least one extra of these blue beads in there, and I do believe I added maybe one extra toe bead to each of those. So if you don't have enough, you know, if you drop one or something, there may be an extra one in one of the other kits. And I think I gave you extras of the rondelle beads, which are going to go on what is called his top knot. This is called a top knot. So the pictures of mine are based on Gamble's quail. Not all quail have the top knot, but the ones around here do. So, all right. So what's in your kit for the big one? Like I said, I'm gonna start with him as far as I don't know. I wanted to make his feet first, but I was thinking I would make the baby quail, but you know what? We'll just make him, it'll be easier if I do one at a time, right? So in your kit for the large one, you'll have this flower, technically a flower bead, but that's going to be your beak. All right. You'll have this coin, sort of faceted coin bead. That's the top knot. The rondelles are part of the top knot. So you need those 3 all around the same time. You should have, it takes 10 of these little beads. So like I said, I may have given you 1 extra in each of those. So you'll have to, if you drop one or break one, they're there. And you need 5 of these beads. And like I said, there may be, I have to look at my kit and see what I included extras of. You will have the giant body bead, which in this case is the 30 millimeter guy. And then you have the head, which this one is 20 millimeter. So the head for the large one is the same size as the body for the small one, just in case you give up and want to do these things for something else. I don't know. But all right, so we're going to start with the feet, because the feet are very important in this guy. All right. Got my ruler here, got my beads. This is always the thing, is whether you can cut the wire without sending your beads flying all over the place. All right, so for me, I found that 11 inches is about the perfect size wire to cut for the legs. Okay. And those of you that made the turkeys and peacocks, if you did the leg things, it's kind of basically the same process, okay? So, let me do that. First thing you're going to do, if you're following along on your pictures, there's a whole page just on the legs. Okay, so because the rest of it is fairly straightforward. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you want to put one of the beads on, and I put it on with the fat side near a short end, right? The fat side of my teardrop. And then I'm going to take probably a little over 1/2 inch here, but I'm going to bend that wire around the bead, and then I am just going to make a little loop to wrap around. And the reason, like I said, the reason we're spending so much time on the feet is because that was one of the critical things in order to get them to stand up. All right. Now, again, the big one, not so difficult. Hey, Janelda. All right, so you have something that looks like that. So see, I wrapped that back around there, right? All right, well now I am going to put a bead on, but I'm going to, on the other end, put the small side on first so that those big sides are facing away from each other. And then I am just going to wrap this wire back around, and I'm going to just wrap it around the middle. So now I have sort of a T-shaped thing, right? And now I'm going to put the third bead on with the small end of the teardrop towards the center. And I am going to wrap this around. And I mean, it doesn't have to look real pretty, because you know what, we're going to straighten it up a little. And then I just wrapped that around the middle. And now we're going to put the fourth one on. All right. So we have like 4 beads like that. So I'm wrapping the back around, and then I'm going to wrap around, and this time I'm going to kind of pull that tight. And then I'm going to make this wire stick up from the center, right? And once again, I'm going to put the bead on with the small end going down here like this. So you now have finished the first foot. So the foot is the 4 beads. And then that sticking up bead is the leg, all right? One thing I like to do, and you can do this a little later before we attach it, is to make it so my wires aren't on the bottom so that this will be more even when it sits there. All right, so that's leg 1. Now, we sort of are going to do the second leg the same way, but we got to put all the beads on first, okay? So now I'm going to put the other leg bead on, so it's going in the opposite direction, right? So I'm putting the big end on first. And you'll see I talk about that. That's in picture F. So we're at F now. So now we want to put the next 3 beads on in that same direction. So big end first. All right, so we've got 4 beads, big end first. All right, so technically those are my 4 beads in there, and then the 5th bead. So each leg is 5 beads, okay? So the last bead, you do the small end first. So it's going to go in the opposite direction of this. All right. So now I'm going to slide this last bead I put on here up towards the end, and I'm going to bring that end down and around just like we did when we put the first bead on to make that first toe, right? And I'm using my pliers here because, the wire is short. All right. So now you have 1 bead on that end, and I've got, a foot and 4 beads. So one at a time, I'm going to slide the next bead up, and I'm going to bring this wire around, and I'm going to pull that out, and then we're going to bring the next bead up, and we're going to take that wire around. It doesn't matter which side you go around that bead, just as long as it wraps all the way around. And then we've got our 4th toe, and I'm going to wrap that one around. And remember, you want to come up through the center. Now here comes something that is really important, okay? So I've got my leg wire. We've got 2 feet on there. Now the distance between the 2 beads, the 2 leg beads, you want it to be about 2.5 inches. Now you'll see from here, we are quite a bit off from that, which means I did not wrap these around. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to wrap around a couple times. Let's see where we are now. Oh, now we got so now I went around one too many times, so I'm going to backtrack, see if I can. So you want this distance to be, like I said, about 2.5, and it is all right. Well, hopefully. All right, you really don't want to do this too many times because there we go. All right, so this step is critical. So you want these to be pretty exact there. So now you're gonna make the legs go. These are the legs. So you want to grab some round nose pliers. I'm grabbing this in the middle. And I'm making a loop, okay? Now you don't want to extend it all the way out, but it's okay, you can adjust that. So there we have finished our feet for our large guy. Now, that may seem complicated, and it is, but you know what? It's worth spending the time on because that's, like I said, especially when you go to make the medium guy, it's critical. Now, if you want this wire to be, if you're having struggling to get it, you know, so that it's about that 2.5 between the feet, longer is better than too short, okay? So go a little longer, and then you can make adjustments as we go along, okay? All right, so now let's move on to the tail, all right? So we need to cut a 19-inch piece of wire, and this is basically gonna be the last piece of wire we cut for this. So this is gonna be our assembly for the rest of it, so. 12. This one, you know, it doesn't have to be quite as exact. You can, if your wire's longer, that's fine. You'll just either cut it off or do some extra wrapping. That's it. All right. So I've got my 19-inch piece of wire here, and I am going to put 2 of these tail beads. You can tell I used a lot of teardrops in this collection, but so I want them both, the beads to go with the fat ends facing the middle of the wire, and you want this. I don't know why it kind of ends up that way, but you want when I push these beads down towards the middle, I want there to be about an inch difference in the ends of the wire, so I'm going to force that to happen. And you know, you'll have to put a little bit of a flat area down here. And maybe there. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat. It's just, I like it that way, but all right. So I've got these 2 beads there, And then at the other end, like I said, my ends of my wires are slightly offset, but all right. So now we put 2 more tail feathers on, one on each side, but this time we're going to put the small end on first. And if you find you're having troubles getting beads on, then, you know, run your wire straightener across. So you end up with 4 beads like that. Okay. Now we've got 1 more bead that I got to put on there. And it's going to go on the shorter wire. Yeah. Sorry. I'm having to read the directions. I haven't made one of these in like a month, guys. So, all right, this time I want to add the large end first, though. Okay. Is that true? No, I want it small end first. Sorry. And like it, I'm putting this on the shorter wire. And now I'm going to bend that wire, and you're going to end up with a little bit of a, like I said, a flat spot there. You don't want too much extra room, but so you've got that bead sort of placed in the middle to fill that in, right? And now I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wrap it around the bottom like that. Okay, and then we are actually gonna pull this through the center here because I don't want it sticking on the outside. Ah. All right, you can get that pushed back down there. All right, and then I'm just gonna come up I don't know why I'm having to do extra. I don't usually have to do extra turns here, so I don't know why I'm struggling with that a little bit, but you know, it's because I'm doing it live, right? And I definitely have a kink in this wire. Let me see if I can gently kind of straighten that out. All right. So anyways, we have our 5 beads. So you have 2 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and then I'm going to just wrap these 2 pieces of wire so they're in the center at the top. Okay. And now I've got my 2 pieces of wire running together. This does not want to cooperate. Okay. Now you do have to be careful. If you make too many corrections, your wire could break, and we don't want that. All right. So we've got our tail, and now we're going to start putting the pieces of our bird together. Reading instructions is a good, I know, it's like, all right, so I'm going to put that loop that I had on the feet on there first. Then we're going to slide the body on. All right. We'll go ahead and let his feet stick out. And then I'm going to take the smaller wire here. Wait a second. Just a second. Let me read, because it's been a while. Okay. So, yeah, we want to bend the shorter wire off to the side and then put the head on. So you're going to have something like that, right? All right, next thing that goes on is his nose. So you want the flat side of that flower bead there. All right, so now I'm going to kind of push things tightly down here. I'm going to hold that bead so it's a little like there. So, and I'm folding the wire down, and then I'm going to go around behind it and just wrap that once around. Then it's going to stick straight up, and now we're going to make his top knot. Okay, so for the for this guy, I use 4 and then the big bead. So there should be an extra one in your bag. Guys, you know the little things are easy to drop, right? And then you're going to slide the coin on there. So you have, basically your guy looks like that at this point. All right? So now, try, it's not that easy, but so you want to hold, if your wires are too loose, your lower rondelle is going to push down between the nose, and it's just going to make his nose crooked. It's not the end of the world, because I've had that happen plenty of times, but I like to try to hold the nose so that those beads don't go down there as I'm going to fold it into shape a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to bend this wire back around that coin bead, and I do it on the side because it doesn't like to stay if I do it on one of the rounded sides. Okay, and now I'm just wrapping back around and then between each of these beads. Don't worry, you know, it gets a little clumsy, but you'll be able to hold him by his top knot. And then once you get back down here, you'll have something that looks like that. All right, and then the other side looks like that. And then I just take that wire and I wrap it, you know, just a couple times around there to hold it. Really 1.5 times is probably adequate. I make sure I kind of pull that tight, and then I'm going to go ahead and just trim that so it's not getting in my way. And we're going to use that to tighten it up. All right, so now you need to turn it so his head is on the top, so we will have to pay attention to make sure his feet end up on the bottom, right? So we've got that. We've got his head. We've got his tail. So now what we're going to do is I am going to, you know, I want the feet to go in to the middle here. And basically I'm pushing them so there's no extra wire sticking out here. So I'm causing it to bend right at the top of that bead that's the leg bead. And I'm doing that on this side too. And you want, so these are basically should be, you know, slightly spaced apart. Mine always end up touching by the time I'm done, but it's okay. So you've got your tail, you've got these two wires here, and you've got the feet, and right now they're loose, right? So make sure you're at the bottom. Now, you know, don't panic too much. It's a wire. We can turn things around. But what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take this wire that's sticking out at his neck, and I'm going to wrap it right at that bead, okay? So I'm going to wrap it once around. So it's going from there, it's going around the top of the leg. And then I'm going to take it over. And this is where you can, you know, snuggle your legs up. A little bit. And you're going to take that across. And you're going to wrap it around that foot. And then I take it back up to the neck. And I'm just going to wrap until I run out of wire. Okay. And we're going to tuck that in. So now, you know, you can adjust things so that his tail is curved down, his feet are here. And his top knot is there. Now, if things are too loose here, like your foot wire, so if your foot wire was too long, one of the things you could have done was wrapped it another time around the wire back towards the tail, okay, before we tightened it up. And the way to check is if it's near the middle when you bend those feet, which they're bent a little forward right now, that's where you want it. You want it as close to the middle as possible, right? Now, the other thing you can do is if it's still a little loose right here, is you do my little trick of, you take some pliers, either your needle nose or these ones, and you just make a little bend in the wire, and it tightens things up, okay? And it also makes it a little prettier, so sometimes I do that just for design too, all right? You know, it took a bit of figuring out with these guys because I could envision them in my head, but getting them to stand up and then describe it to you guys. But, all right, we actually have our large quail. Now, like I said, the good thing is he leans on his legs, so you'll see right now mine's leaning forward. So what I'm doing is grabbing those front toes, and I'm just gonna bend him backwards until he balances with his tail. So like I said, you hold on to his front toes and then just kind of move the body back. You guys are so sweet. And there we go, we have our big old quail. So now, trust me, the other two don't take as long because now we know how to make feet, right? And this is the complicated tail. All right. So for the, let me just show you. So the only difference between the big guy and the medium guy is his tail. And for the medium's tail, you're just going to use two beads. And you're going to cut, as it says in the thing, you're going to cut a 15-inch piece of wire. So let me just show you the tail for that real quick. And then we'll make the little guy and be done with it. And when you go to make these guys, you know, feel free to ask questions. Now, like I said, for this one, I do think using 22 gauge, like, because you can't do all the bending you need to do on the tails and the feet. If you have thicker wire, you might be able to get by with something thinner, but for getting the support to stay up, you might have to add some extra wrapping. So, all right, I'm trying to look at I need a 15-inch piece of wire for the medium guy. And I'm just going to show you the tail real quick, but then we're going to make the small one, because once you make the tail, everything else is the same as what we just did. Although I guess we could just do it real quick. It's going to take us longer, but I did warn you guys that this video might be a little longer, right? We'll go ahead. We'll make him. Well, I didn't make his feet, so we can't make him. Never mind, because I don't want to. Anyways, if I should have made the feet up ahead of time. That's what I should have done. But I will show you how to make the tail real quick. So for this one, you want the tail, but this time we're going to put the pointy ends of the teardrops down. Okay. And again, we want one slightly shorter wire, so about 1 inch. So as I bring these down, this time, you know, I can just kind of slide them so they're almost touching. And then just bend them. So you have this little tiny tail, and now you want to just bend both wires and put that twist in there. And then you would just start adding, so you need the feet wire there, which since I didn't make the feet yet, I can't put that on there, but then you just add the body and the head and do all those things like we did. But let's make the baby, since he is a little different. All right. So for him, we've got this 20 millimeter. We've got I think a 12 millimeter head. So you'll find 2 flower beads in here. Okay. So the larger one is his tail. The smaller one is his beak. Okay. And then he's got a coin for his top knot. And you'll need 3, got extras out, 3 rondelles. And then for his feet, we're using, the nice thing about for his feet is that these are bicones, so we don't have to worry about what direction we put them on. So for this one, again, we want to do 8 inches of wire. Okay. And like I said, what I put in there is what works for me. Now, if you end up doing more wrapping or not enough wrapping, yours is going to come out a little different. But basically, so we're doing our 8 inches of wire. We're going to do the same thing. I am going to put one bead on that wire, put it down far enough that I can flip the wire over it and wrap it around. Don't need a whole lot because, you know, it's all going to get wrapped in there, but so it's going to look like that. And then, like so, we put the next one on. And we come back around, come out the side. Putting a third wire on. I can never see the holes when I'm working. So, you know, we've got that three beads right now. And I'm just going to bend it back, go around. So we've got 3 toes, and then we're going to do that 4th toe. All right. And I'm going to come back around, and then I'm just going to go over and up through the middle. So we have our 4 toes there. And again, I want to kind of put the wire off to the side. So sometimes it does, you have to gently use your pliers to. All right. So now I'm going to put the leg on for my first foot, right? Then we're going to go ahead and put 5 more beads on. So the leg and then the 4 toes. And like I said, since these ones are all bicones, it doesn't matter what direction. Sure, I think I have extra beads out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and one more. Gotta make sure before you start bending the wire that you have all the beads on there. Okay. So it looks like that. Now we're gonna slide this one, first one, back up here. Remember to leave enough space to flip that end of that wire over and wrap it around. I think I was actually recommending that silver might be a good color for his feet, but you know, either way, it will blend with the feet, but not the body. So remember, so then we're going to slide 1 bead down, coming around, coming out, slide a bead, go around, we're sliding that 4th toe down, and we're gonna go around. All right, go all the way around, and so we want these feet sticking out opposite each other. Let's check our distance here. So for this one, we want about 1 3/4 of an inch. I think we're pretty close there. All right. So I'm just gonna oh good. All right, so remember now we put the put a loop in the middle. Make sure you have your leg beads on each side before you do that. All right, now for this guy we need, for the body of the small guy, we need 10 inches of wire. Now for this guy, he's going to be, like I said, slightly different. We want to do sort of our own head pin here. Since we're using 22 gauge wire, we could do one of those pass-through head pins, or you could just do a small loop. Kind of like to make it like a long head pin, so we're going to do that. But like I said, you can just, if you want, you could just do what I did, make that simple loop and bend it. Yeah, we'll just do that. All right. So now we can start assembling. So we're going to put his tail on first. Actually, you know what? I think it does look better if that's the head pin that comes through the center. So remember, if you do that double loop, you come through the center. It's helpful to have nylon jaw pliers. And then, let's see, so I don't need those out anymore. Look at those out here. I'm going to use another, I'm using my flat nose. You could use chain nose, whatever works for you, to just pull this flat. So it comes through the center. That's really, you know, it just makes it stick out less. But like I said, don't worry about it. If you want to, if you just do a loop, it'll be fine. All right, so let's start that again. Let's put the tail on. And then you're gonna put the feet on. And the body. Now this time, remember we only have one wire, so we're gonna just keep going. We are gonna put the head on. And then his nose. And then I'm gonna bend it back and try to hold this tight. This one's a little tougher, but it's okay. We can always tighten it up later. So I've got his tail, his feet, his body, his head, and his beak. And then I wrap the wire around once. We got it sticking straight up. Now I'm going to put three of these little rondelles on there. Now I will say, for authenticity, quail, the real baby quail don't have top knots, or their top knots aren't quite as pronounced. And top knots are actually made up of like multiple layers of feathers. Little quail trivia in case you, but they're so cute with the top knots. My quail had to have top knots, so they apparently are old enough to have their own top knot, right? All right, so again, we're gonna bend the wire back around the flat edge, and then I am just gently wrapping around each bead till I get down here. And then I am going to wrap below the beak, around the beak. And you will need this wire, okay? So you want to come back. So you don't want to do too much extra wrapping. You're going to come back, and I'm going to go once around his head. And now we're going to do the same thing with the feet, okay? So you want to bend them. towards that, but you want it to be in the middle. Okay, so looks like this one's a little long, so I'm going to wrap, we're going to go around the tail again. Is that enough to, let's see. That might have been enough to just taking one of those feet around. All right. So I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to, again, wrap it around one leg. Come across, and I'm trying to leave a little space. I don't want to pull too tight here, right? And then wrap it around the second one. And then we're gonna bring it back. And it's a little short, so, you know, feel free to cut a longer wire if you want more room to work with there, but it's all right. We're going to just use our pliers to make sure that's nice and tight, okay? All right, so let's look and see what we got here. We've got his top knot going the right way, got his little tail, we got his little feet. I don't know what's going on with his toes here. Toes are a little out of whack. All right, just have to move things. All right. So again, we've got, you know, we've got these wires, but if you're using something like, this is why I love the blue wire, because it kind of blends in. That one was sticking out a little, so I am gonna do my little tightening trick. And again, like I said, it just adds a little decorative to your wire. All right, so we've got his feet. Now the real question is whether he stands up, okay? Now, he will not stand on a cushy surface very easily. But what you kind of do is just, you get kind of just hold the front toes and you gently adjust his body weight right or left. So I have him standing now. But like I said, as soon as I set him down here, he's going to fall over because it's not a flat surface. But just to show you, see, he can balance on his own. But if you don't want to worry about that, we have a button. And so to put him on the button, just cut a piece. What is this? We'll do about 3.5 inches. Doesn't have to be very long, okay? Now I want the flattest side of the button to be down, and I purposely bought ones that have a little bit of a space in there so that I can put the wire. So I did use silver wire, I guess, on there, but to put him on the button, we're just gonna put wire through both holes. Doesn't have to be exactly even. And then I am just going to take each wire and wrap it around his feet. Actually, I think what I did before was I stuck the wires through the middle of his feet. And that way I could get to the outside easier. I don't have an exact way to attach him other than, you know, you want to be near the middle. I don't know why this is not. All right. We are going to I'm going to put those wires behind him, and then I am just bringing them across each feet, and you know, do your best to keep him in the middle. It doesn't really matter which okay. I have no idea if that's how I actually put his feet on the first time, but the good news is he's on there, then you don't really have to mess around with getting him to balance, although, you know, you still want to get him to balance a little bit. Let me know where the other end went. He's not on there real tight. It's not the best job as far as, but he's not going to come off. All right. So there you go. That's how you deal with the little guy. So we made him. We made the big guy. And we showed you how to make the tail for the medium one. And then once you have the tail, it's exactly like we made this one. Okay? So, if there's no other questions, we are officially done with Quail Make Long Day. Yeah, there's got to be a smoother way to put his feet on that button. But like I said, it will save you a little bit of headache if you can't get him to stand up. And like I said, your medium guy, when you make him, to check whether he can stand up or not, you put him on a flat surface here. And if you hold on to the front of his feet and kind of bend him back and forth until he stands. Now you could, if you're really struggling, you could make it so that tail touches the ground. He'll just be looking up more vertically, but it's all good. So, alrighty, yay. All right, let's switch the camera around. I hope you guys like that. If you feel like you missed out, we do have more Quail kits. If you have any problems finding them on the website, just direct message me. I will send you an invoice. I have kits. I know the entry on my site was messed up. I'm not sure what was going on there. I think they did an update, and so it was causing some things not to show. I think I have them fixed, but I don't know. But like I said, if you have any problems, just direct message me. And I hope you guys have fun making them. Please share your pictures in our Bead Stash Challengers. I want to see that some people successfully made quail. If you're in the Arizona area, I do sell these assembled. And matter of fact, I had them on the website. That's another one that's not showing. So if you really want a quail, but you don't want to make one, I will make you one. And you can buy them directly from me. Or if you're in our area, Freebird Shop in Catalina, it sells my already made items. Okay, so I'm selling a lot of my figures there. So, because I know not everybody wants to make them themselves, right? So anyways, feel free to reach out to me for whatever. Please like and follow. Like this post, please, as that helps me get some visibility. I will put this video out on Facebook and link it back to the page so that you don't lose it after the 30 days. You can watch it on YouTube, assuming it lets me. It took me all weekend to get the last video loaded for some reason, but anyways, it seems to be working today. So anyways, like and follow all my social media, subscribe on YouTube. That's all helpful, free ways to help me. Doesn't mean you have to watch, doesn't mean you can't ignore those alerts, but you know, I appreciate it when people do. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through direct message. If you're watching on YouTube, if you make a comment, it'll send me an email and I will see that, and then we can exchange information that way, so I can help you out. And tune in Thursday at noon. We will be making an anklet using lapis, green, a toggle clasp, and primary colors of yellow, red, and blue. Okay, so that'll be fun. Noon Thursday. All right, I hope you all have a great week. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.